All right, how's it going, everybody? It is the Awesemo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show, and we have a nice little six-gamer to talk about. Last slate before NBA returns, so some huge prizes we're going to go over game by game. We're going to talk about last night, some real big winners yesterday, and we're going to do all the normal stuff. We've got a pretty cool free tool for today. Usually behind the paywall, but it's going to be free today. And it's one that you guys are going to like, one that we referred to yesterday. As usual, on these bigger slates, I'm joined by Nolan Kelly. Nolan, how are you doing, man?
What's going on?
Just trying to bank, honestly, this last big slate. So putting
You got
some
to go to the
pressure.
Vox School of DFS, man.
Yeah, my God. We got to look at his lineup in just a minute on lineup study. Vots just absolutely hit the nuts last night. And he did, I think he won the 20 max by like 15 points or something, which is crazy. So great lineup by Vots yesterday. We'll look at the 100K winner, and then I think there was some other nice tournaments as well. Did not really go well for me, but did get bailed out by Ottawa 1 last night late. So I don't know if you were on them, but my winnings were looking pretty bad going into the third period of that last game. And they shot up a little bit, so I didn't lose, everything last night. So I'm not homeless, is what I'm trying to say. And we've got a pretty good one tonight. So I see a bunch of you guys already hit the like button. Thank you for that. That does really help us out. So if you could do that, if you do appreciate the content, that helps it stay free, helps us keep coming up in the YouTube algorithms. I'm not exactly sure how it helps us, but I know it does. So we appreciate that as always. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports is the sponsor of the NHL DFS Strategy Show. They're $3 filling up, which is good to see. It is a 10 max, 12% management fee, about 3/4 of what you're going to pay over on other sites, rake, management fees, whatever you want to call it. Yahoo has lower management fees, and there's a lot less pros, smaller contests, sure, but it's great to build a bankroll or just get some more money down. They've got golf contests. I know Nolan is a big fan of these, and then NBA is returning tomorrow. They're running a 100K baller, no management fee, $10 entry, 10K to first, nice flatter payout structure than what you're going to see elsewhere. 0% management fee. You're just not going to beat that. And 25 max. So, you can compete. You're not going up against 150 maxers, which is nice. I think you maxed that one out already, right?
What's that? The Yahoo one?
Yeah, the no management fee.
I did.
All right. Use the tools on the site if you are a premium member. If you're not, promo code NHL Strategy is how you get 50% off your first week of any Awesemo Plus weekly pass. Used to be monthly, now it's weekly. Free tool for today. Top stacks. So we can refer to these numbers. Really cool tool. Nolan and I both use it. It is in beta technically. We're still trying to get the numbers, but we do have this for MLB. We had it for NFL. It's very popular for a number of different sports. We show you the top 2 stack percentage. So the chances that the stack will be a top 2 scoring stack, and then compared to the ownership share. And that's just an average of the 3 guys in our ownership projections. So really cool tool. We've got the line salaries as well. And it's just great to identify under-owned and over-owned stacks, which we'll talk about. So we'll refer to this a bunch of times throughout the show. Feel free to click on that and, follow along as you please. Last night, let's take a quick look at the 100K winner, Cut Nuts 35. Cut Nuts 35. Interesting username. Maxed it out, did not max it out. Had 16 entries. Went Wheeler, Ehlers, 2-man, Pajot, Kachuk, Zucker, Crosby, so just 2-2-2 across the board. Maybe knew that Wheeler and Ehlers were going to play together at some point, but the defenseman didn't really matter because he just absolutely nailed the forwards. 20-plus points out of all 6 of his forwards, 30-plus from 4 of them. Pajot was massive, 45.8 DK points, got the empty netter, got a shorthand assist, I don't remember if he had a hat trick, but he had a 4-point game. And then just needed some cheap defensemen to fill in. Gardner and Mete did the trick. Carter Hart was solid 22.1. How did you handle the Malkin late scratch? And that's not normal for people watching the show, maybe playing NHL DFS for the first time or first few times. You don't often get a scratch that late. We usually know about 20 or 25 minutes
That
prior.
late and that big, right? Like the most owned line of the night. So 10% of people still had him in their lineups. I approached it incorrectly, I thought, and I was kicking myself right after. Like I was in a bit of a rush and just kind of swapped off that line, swapped up to some Crosby, but basically I faded Pittsburgh as a result because I just wasn't sure what the line combos would be. And in retrospect, that's kind of a dumb move. I think the smart game theory one would have been to guess at the line combos, and still you would have probably had the power play one correlation anyways, even if you didn't guess right and Crosby wasn't with Zucker and Rust. I believe that's what it was, right? Or were those just all power play goals? At any rate, even if it wasn't, there's a likely scenario where those three are united. McCann moves over to center. So it would have made a lot of sense just to kind of swap out and get some Pittsburgh one lines or some unique Pittsburgh combos with Rust in there. And then you're also, if Rust goes off, you're also beating a bunch of lineups that have him and Malkin in anyway. So for me, it was a big mistake and kicking myself afterwards for not really thinking ahead and planning that out better. What about you?
Yeah, I was kicking myself a little bit. I mean, I understood why people went from Malkin down to Crosby, but
I guess and it was Simone still on that line. Now that I think
yeah,
about it.
it was. They ran Simone with Zucker and Crosby basically the whole game from what I saw. I think.
Yeah.
But it was frustrating that they got a bunch of power play goals, right? Because then Crosby, I think it was like Crosby to Rust and Letang first goal. So that was frustrating. Like kind of knew where my night was heading. Luckily, like I said, Ottawa won, saved me a little bit. But I kind of panicked and just got off of pit 2 entirely. So I lost all my Malkin. Obviously, lost a bunch of Rust, and who's the other guy? I can't even remember. McCann, although he wasn't really the key. So I had a couple decent pit power play stacks on FanDuel, but yeah, pretty much on DK got off him entirely. So it was looking pretty rough for a while. Had basically none of those guys, but had some Zucker, Simone, and Crosby stacks. So I wasn't completely dead. But let's quick look at the dangle from last night. This is the $8 Rex de Great. 100, just 6 entries. Didn't even need, double digits. Wheeler, Nyquist, Ehlers, Werenski, Montour, 30.6 DK points at 4.4% ownership. That'll do the trick. Joakim Ryan, 2.6%, got double digits. Tristan Jarry, and then, of course, Zucker and Crosby together. So, nice lineup there. Looks like quite a bit of correlation. Triple defenseman, not something I do on the bigger slates. I like to experiment with that on like the 2 and 3 and maybe even 4 gamers, but wasn't really looking to do that, but nailed it yesterday. EMAC pointed out that Zach Werenski is indeed a pretty good player from a period and a half sample that he was watching last night or following along on the game. Let's look at Votz's lineup. In fact, I want to look at, did he have the best lineup? Oh, okay, so this was from here. Let's find it right here. He had the 20 max, some weird name for this yesterday's DraftKings. Always does. He maxed it out. But look at the top scores. He had 227.7. Next best score was not even 210. So just absolutely crushed. I mean, everyone in his lineup was basically the nuts. So he had Peugeot, Duclair, Kachuk, full Ottawa one. Riley just probably threw in a defenseman that was on Ottawa. I don't think he correlated on the power play. I think those power plays on the screen are correct. 25.3 points out of a $3,400 Riley. And then if that wasn't good enough, 30.6 from Montour at 5% ownership. Crosby, McCann, and Rust. Only dud in there was McCann, but it did not matter. I mean, everyone else in his lineup completely crushed. Correlated goalie. Great lineup by Vots. We were congratulating him in the chat yesterday. People wanted him to put it in the higher dollar entries, but coulda, shoulda, woulda. Great score, and ended up with a little bit of cash last night. So great to see. Vots, obviously one of the writers at the site, does the power plays. He's got his power plays out tonight. If you guys want to check out the Awesemo NHL home.
Sounds like must-read territory to me.
I think so after that score last night. Let's talk about the game, shall we?
Let's get into it.
First game. Probably everyone's favorite game for tonight. 3.1 implied total for the Rangers. 3.3 for the Hawks. Igor Shesterkin and Robin Leonard are your goalies. And first of all, any news on either side?
Doesn't look like any changes here, but I would say keep an eye on the Rangers. Tony DeAngelo skated this morning, and it was an optional skate for them. So apparently, they are going to have a presser right at I think 6:30 Eastern today. So we should have a pretty advanced knowledge of if Tony DeAngelo is going to be in. And he would probably, I would assume, go straight back to that top power play unit. So, and then just keep an eye on Chris Kreider. They're in contract negotiations, but he may get traded. So we could see one of these late scratches, though. Again, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, Kreider was, and I think Vots actually was tweeting about how we might get a late scratch from Kreider here. That's possible. If they're close to a trade, they're going to hold him out. So who knows what's actually going to happen there? But assuming the players on your screen are the players that are in, and maybe DeAngelo, what do you think about this Blackhawks pretty aggressive chalk? I mean, 3.3 implied total, it's good. Kane's got pretty cheap line mates, Saad and Carpenter. That line looks like it's going to be one of the more popular stacks of the entire night. What are your just initial thoughts on that? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? I don't know if it's good chalk, or bad chalk. According to the top stacks tool, it looks like it's going over owned relative to their chances of success. 12% ownership, 22% ownership share. But that being said, it's probably the best value stack of the entire slate, right? So I certainly understand why people are going there. You could also go to some unique stacks. Maybe you throw in some Chicago one with Kane or some power play one stacks. I think that in larger GPPs that's probably viable. But I don't hate any of it tonight. I just think you're going to have to maybe get a little bit creative in your Chicago stacks here. The Dockstrom DeBrincat line is probably going to get some ownership.
Yeah.
If you're going for Chicago one, I'd say maybe like keep Kajula on there, even though it's not a great play, but he's probably going to get no ownership. And yeah, that's about it. I don't know. I mean, I like both sides of this game. Two of the highest totals on the slate. So what's not? I think 1 and 2. So it's what's not to like, right?
Right. I mean, just like ownership notwithstanding, I think this is probably the best game of the night for DFS. But with ownership being a thing, obviously, I'm looking to try to get away from something in this game. I can't just like outright fade Chicago or anything. I'm playing 150 lineups. I don't think I'm going to have a lot of Chicago in the higher entry stuff that I do, or even like the 33. I think it's a 33 today on DK. But yeah, I'm going to try to go pretty light in that tournament because I think the ownership's going to be even more popular there. Like Kane's going to get one off the bunch. It's going to be Kane, Saad, two mans. But I do like the power play here for the Blackhawks. Rangers can't stay out of the penalty box. They're not a good team at 5-on-5, although they've been better defensively lately. But you've also got some decent power play correlation. So I guess you could make a case to, go heavy on one of these Chicago lines. If I was going to be overweight on one of these two, like full line stacks, whether it's Taves, Kubelik, and Kajula or Saad, Carpenter, Kane, I think I would be more overweight on the Taves line just because of the ownership. And frankly, the Taves line has been pretty good at 5-on-5. Yeah. Like, that's not any slouch of a line. I know Kajula stinks, but you could throw in Saad there. You could try to mix in Kane. But that's going to be popular. Like, I just don't see myself having a huge edge playing a lot of Blackhawks tonight. So I'm looking at the Rangers side as probably like if this game does go off, if the Rangers side does go off, I think I could be in a pretty good position here because I like both of the top two lines. I prefer the Zibanejad line if I just could choose one. I just love the way Zibanejad's playing. Kreider obviously needs to play for this to be a thing, but you could also power play stack the Rangers side as well. So I think I'm going to be more overweight on the Rangers side. I'm probably coming in underweight on mostly everything on Chicago, especially that third line. Like, they're getting owned at a pretty crazy clip, and they project pretty well, but it's just a line that doesn't generate that many chances. I know they have a good matchup against Rangers 3 and Rangers 4. So they could get it done, but like that line's just going to be paired so often with Boston 1 or Colorado 1 that I don't know. You're probably a 1v1 at best away from people if you double stack.
What about leaving off Ryan Carpenter off the Chicago 2?
Yeah, I was talking with some people online about I just thought that Carpenter would be pretty low owned, but $2,500 center. I guess centering Saad and Kane, both guys correlate well to each other. Both on the top power play. I guess it makes sense that he's up there as one of the higher owned guys.
20% ownership seems like a lot, but
yeah. So, I think you could do that. I think you can just, people hate leaving off the center. I hate leaving off the center when I'm doing 3-2-1.
I
So
know. The
if you
worst.
can figure out a way to do it, if you can figure out another cheap center, like a guy that has some peripheral numbers, not just relying on like assists, like Carpenter, you would probably be relying on assists here for Carpenter. Um,
Minimum 50 minutes this year. This line is top 10 in expected goals for this sad Carpenter Kane line,
yeah,
3.83. If you do want the argument to get off them, we talked about it the last time when the Rangers were in Winnipeg, and that's that the Rangers have been a much better defensive team. I don't know if it's better, that they're better defensively or that just been better as a team, but they were the worst team in the entire NHL heading into like January, and then since that time, they've been about middle of the pack in high danger chances against, scoring chances against, getting better goaltending. Seems like they're playing a lot better as a team. So I think that sometimes perceptions, people have perceptions that form in the early part of the year, and then maybe those aren't exactly accurate by the time the midway point happens. So if you're looking for a reason to fade, that's not it. And also, like, this total isn't really that high, like a 3.4 total with 3 lines on Chicago that are legit. I think, those are the cases for fading, anyways.
yeah. Like if I was hand building a lineup, I don't think I'd get to Chicago. There's a lot of good spots here. We've had a run of really good slates with a lot
Yeah.
of options. So while I get the chalk, they are coming up a little bit over owned in our top stack tool, specifically the Kane line. Kane one off's always going to be a thing. Like that's never really a bad idea. He never gets to a spot where he's like 50% owned or anything like that. So it's not that concerning if you're looking to one off here. I think you just play the best player in Chicago. Gustafsson at 3,600 on the blue line, kind of a ridiculous price, especially with his minutes jumping up. I think he saw like 23 minutes last game. If he's going to see anywhere around there for this price in this matchup, like he is a guy that was absolutely smashing at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And his minutes just jump around so much, but like I think we've got him projected for around 20. If that's the case, that's an absolute steal for 3,600. That's why you're seeing him being one of the more popular defensemen, but it kind of makes sense. I'm even comfortable like one-offing him in non-Chicago lineups as well. Like it's just too much value. A guy that does do the peripheral stuff. He gets block shots. He does get a lot of shots on goal when he's playing. And then on the Rangers side, potential late swap in situation. If D'Angelo can go, he's gonna take over that top power play. I would assume it's been working pretty well. Then Fox would probably bump down to 2. Shea probably wouldn't be on a power play. If you guys are kind of wondering how that would affect things, but someone in chat says who Anthony D'Angelo. He is on some sites. He's probably around 5K. I haven't even looked at his salary yet today, but I'll update if we see anything on him. We should know. They say 6:30 Eastern. He was gonna talk. Yeah, so we should know by then if he's expected player, if he's a game time decision or what. But anything else you want to add here?
No, I think we covered it pretty well. Gustafson's ownership's a little bit scary. Like, you just got to think about it. Like, Nurse and Gustafsson are going to be the 2 highest owned defensemen on the slate. So if you're pairing both of those guys up together, find some differentiation elsewhere.
Yeah, and I think Chicago's the team tonight where if it fits like a glove for me, I'm going to try to do something different in the lineup, whether it's just play a defenseman that's projected lower or like if it fits perfectly with the 50K salary on DK and you're stacking Saad, Carpenter, Kane, you're probably going to be duped, and that's not really something I'm interested in, even on a 6-game slate. So just be aware of what you're doing if
I think the Vancouver to Chicago to combo,
sure,
stacking and Colorado 1 will be the most owned combos.
Yep. So just be aware of what you're doing with your defenseman spots if you are double stacking there. So that's something I've tried to be more aware of as the season has gone on. Trying to just not have duplicates is a good thing in NHL DFS. Let's go to Arizona and Dallas. 2.2 implied total for the Coyotes, 3 flat for the Stars. Aiden Hill and Ben Bishop are your goalies. Looks like these Stars lines have stuck for the most part. Do we see anything new here?
Yeah, new line. Well, some new lines because Radulov is back for the Stars. Again, probably pretty massive misprice here by DraftKings at just $4,100. So if you're looking for a one-off or you're looking to maybe just stack that line because Pavelski and Radulov are both on that first power play unit, So yes, again, Perry Hintz, Dickinson, Gurianov, Ben, Pavelski, Radulov, Yanmark, and then the usual fourth line there. And on the Arizona side of things, I don't think we're expecting any changes.
Yeah, I don't think so either. They did win their last game, I want to say, maybe on Monday afternoon against the Islanders, I think. So usually when that happens, my thoughts, unless someone's injured, is like the coaches are going to stay the same, even if we don't have morning skate. Arizona is like, if you're playing the sport, like Arizona has the worst beats. They don't really even have beats that travel on the road. So they could switch everything up and you might not know 5 minutes before this game starts. So they're the team that is the worst to try to figure stuff out, but they're coming off a win. So I think you're pretty safe with assuming these lines are a go. Really low implied total on especially the Arizona side. I think if I'm going to them, it's probably Arizona 1 or nothing. Although I'm pretty worried that this Faxa, Cagliano, and Como line is probably going to hard match them. And they've been pretty good, man. Like even if you sort by like just home games when they're in this shutdown role, they're really good at limiting the opposition. So
I'm glad you brought them up because that was going to be my sneaky sleeper play of the night.
yeah, so they're listed as the fourth line, but they're probably going to see mid-teens in minutes with a pretty, very easily the top line for Arizona. Like it's not like they've got a really balanced top six. They're gonna want that matchup, I would assume, and so they actually might play a decent amount of minutes. The problem with them, if you're looking to play Dallas for quote unquote, is just that they don't get any power play time.
It's true, but nice option for your Boston 1 stacks tonight.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, I just don't consider them a fourth line. I usually don't play fourth lines, but I don't really consider that line a fourth line. Their minutes say otherwise. So I think I'm with you there. Anything else on the Dallas side or the Arizona side here? Is there any line that really piques your interest?
That Radulov line just strikes me as way underpriced, but again, same thing. Like it's going to get ownership. Let's just take a quick look at the ownership share so far.
There's your Boston 1 filler as well.
Pardon me?
That's going to be a Boston 1 filler stack, right?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, and only 11,001 on DraftKings. We have them at a 2% chance of being a top 2 stack, and it's getting 8% ownership. So the value is there, but it's one of those ones again. Like just be careful with who you stack them with if you're double stacking in large tournaments, because you're not going to catch anyone by surprise with that.
Right. So I'm being wary. I'm being wary of them. Rinpax says sign up for the break promo. I'll pull that up onto the screen, and then after the next game we'll go over that. So I'll be sure to mention that as well. As far as this game goes, other things we can mention. So again, Hintz and Perry, I guess is probably my favorite Dallas line. It is listed as the top one, but they're just so balanced that I can't really make a major stand on this game. If I was only building a few lineups, I don't think I would get to anything in this game. I always look for reasons to try to play these low total games or find something that I like. Here, though, with that Faxa matchup, outside of just a couple flyers on Arizona 1, I don't see much outside of just pure MME appeal in this game. But yeah, it's pretty gross. Ekman Larson off the power play, Osterley there at 3K. I guess Dallas takes a lot of penalties, so if you believe in Arizona 1 here, you want to go with 3K Osterley, knock yourself out. Klingberg and Hiskinen I have some interest in because of how bad defenseman is tonight. 4,500 for Klingberg, Hiskinen 4,900. They've both been playing okay, specifically Klingberg. So once we started ripping on him a little while ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, he's picked it up a little bit. He's getting some points, but he's also like getting some shots on goal. He's blocking some shots. He's actually not just logging 20 empty minutes every night.
Damn good point, man. Yeah, 7 shots last game, 4 block shots 2 games ago, points in 3 straight. Maybe we're finally seeing the return of John Klingberg.
Right. The question is just which line do you stack him with, or which players? Because the power plays are all split up. It's not like Arizona is a terrible defensive team. I know they have issues without Taylor Hall on the ice, the Hall line on the ice, but it's a pretty ugly game, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do some like and like the Arizona PK is pretty good, right? Top 5, I think, at the NHL. So It's kind of tough to get excited about a power play stack. And then you look at like what you said with correlation here, like no Stars defenseman had over 10 minutes, 9 minutes with anyone last game, and that's they were on the road, but I think that's a pretty common thing for them. Like they just don't really have a lot of highly correlated D with their top two lines.
Steven Johns has seen an uptick in minutes the last few games. Not the most exciting option, but he's under 4K on DraftKings. I suppose you could go there if you wanted to. Like if you're just trying to narrow down your pool of defensemen, might be a guy that you should include. Let's go to Boston and Edmonton. 3.4 implied total for the Bruins, 2.5 for the Oilers. Tuukka Rask and Mike Smith are your goalies. What do we see here?
I think that Sam Gagner is in on the third line for the Oilers, replacing, I think, Michael Granlund, maybe. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. So that's about it. And then, of course, Oscar Klefbom out. Darnell Nurse moves up to the top power play unit. He's going to get just an absolute boatload of minutes. I think you could even double stack, do the ship my money move of a couple days ago, where you double stack two defensemen in Ethan Bear and Nurse, because I'm guessing those guys are just going to get massive minutes tonight and will be fairly well correlated. On the Boston side of things, I actually forgot to check on Boston today. I don't think there's any crazy changes.
No.
Krejci with Coleman and DeBrusk, Coyle, Heinen, and Bjork, and then Krug still in the top power play unit. So talk to me. You banked with Edmonton 1 a few days ago, I think. Are we on Team Edmonton 1 here, Team Boston 1?
Yeah, I mean, so I would like to get to both in my portfolio of lineups. The question is just, well, how many lines can you fit in with Boston 1? Like I get they're under owned, but the way that the way that I like to play is stack and stack and stack. And so if you start with Boston 1 in your lineup, like I just don't think I'm making good unique lineups that often. So there's a couple lines I think that are okay. I still don't think I'm going to be at the field. I'm maybe like half the field, like 5% or so of Boston 1. Because I really have to force it in my crunches to kind of get to a lot of them. And then I like the second line a lot for Boston, Krejci, DeBrusk, and Coolman. I just like them as a line. They're like Krejci and DeBrusk aren't like that great of values, but DeBrusk does get top power play time, and Coolman's cheap, and Coolman's been super active. So I like kind of the full stack there, especially knowing that they're not going to see a lot of the only line that matters for Edmonton. Like they get to go up against these borderline NHL players, the Gaten Haas's of the world, Sheehan, like Josh Archibald. Like it's just really ugly for Edmonton outside of their top line. And then
so you think it's going to be a lot of one versus one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're just going to see a ton of minutes. So I think Edmonton 1 is just going to go up against whoever, because Draisaitl is probably going to play 25 minutes if this game is close. And then same with Nugent Hopkins. Like they just have to have this line on the ice. It's the only one that's doing anything for them. These other lines are just going to try to grind it down, and Boston is just way deeper than them. Like 2, 3, and 4 are a massive mismatch, and then like Edmonton 1's obviously not as good as Boston 1, but they're probably going to be put in pretty favorable spots with what they have going on here. It's a small implied total for Edmonton 1 for Edmonton, but like if this line goes off, I know I've been saying this a lot, but like if this team goes off, it's just the scoring has to come from somewhere, and it's pretty unlikely that it's coming from these really bad players. I mean, it could happen, but I do like Edmonton 1 for that reason. They're also coming in quite a bit under-owned in our top stack tool.
Yeah, they look like one of the biggest leverage play lines of the night, and like this is kind of like reminiscent of when Crosby was out for the Penguins and Malkin. The Malkin Rust line was just getting tons and ice time and tons of opportunity and offensive zone starts, and that's pretty much where we're at with this Oilers line at this point. You're looking at like 23, 24 minutes, maybe even more tonight, like with the tough matchup. So they pretty much have to ride them because, like you said, the rest of this lineup is just absolute garbage. So tough matchup, going under own probably because Boston's number 1 in defending like every single forward position, which makes a lot of sense. But I think it's probably a sharp play tonight.
So I'm gonna end up limiting Edmonton 1, but I'm still gonna be way over the field. It looks like, because if I don't limit them, based on their ownership, based on how we have them projected, based on the top stack tool, all that stuff, I would be like really aggressively over the field on them. I'm not super comfortable just like going all in on a line that's going to see a lot of Boston 1. That's in general not a great spot, but they have been really good. They are lower owned than a lot of these other top lines in their price point. And they're fully correlated on the power play. If they get a few opportunities, they probably have to cash one in, but I don't think it's that far-fetched to think that they could do a lot of damage here.
I agree.
Darnell Nurse, 4,700. I think you mentioned him already. Huge minutes. Ethan Bear, probably an uptick in minutes. And then I think the other guy that's going to see an uptick is Adam Larson. He's not very good, but he's 3,100. Guy you could possibly punt with. He used to be one of the block shot kings. Was once upon a time traded straight up for Taylor Hall. So he's got that on his resume. And then Boston, not as usual, not a lot of guys I'm interested in on the blue line. You've got Krug on the top power play, but he is 6K almost. So if you stack up Boston 1 plus Krug, have fun, duping 30 other people in a large field tournament. It's just really, really hard to do that. So I like the Boston secondary lines, probably underweight, very likely underweight on Boston 1. And then going to have me a lot of Edmonton 1, which is scary. Anything else?
No, I agree with what you said there. It's like when you put in Boston, and if you put in like some of these value defensemen, it's like pretty much $11,000 and down, and there's not a lot there. Like the ownership's concentrating on, as we said, Dallas 2 and Chicago 2 and 3, and I don't even know if you could fit Chicago 2. It might be tough, but it's pretty gross for Boston. That's the problem.
Promo code BREAK is how you get 8 days of Awesemo Plus Platinum, all access to NASCAR, PGA, EPL, MMA, and of course NHL. So this was the code we were referring to earlier. This goes away tonight, I believe. It turns over on February 20th, so take advantage while you can do so. Let's go to the second half of the slate. This is a good one for you West Coasters out there. A lot of these games start late, and this one starts at 10 Eastern. Islanders and Avalanche, 2.5 implied total for the Islanders, 3.1 for the Avs. Semyon Varlamov and Pavel Francouz going for the Avs. No Rantanen, right, for the Avs. How does that shake things up?
Yeah, so they're moving Gabriel Landeskog back up to the top line there, and then I think you're going to have full power play correlation for those ones. There was no morning skate today, but I think they skated yesterday, so you should be good. Konferdonskoy and Nishkinen kind of don't hate that combination, or Nichushkin. And then Martin Kraut makes his NHL debut, I believe, or first. Actually, I should double check that, but he's AHLer, averages about a half point a game. Not exactly an exciting play here on the third line with Belmar and Nieto. I believe that's it from the Colorado side, and then just some like late swapping on from the Islanders in their bottom six there with Kiefer Bellows moved down to the fourth line, Ross Johnson moving up to the third line.
Yeah, we saw Bailey being dropped down to the third line in pregame skate the other game, and then he basically played the whole game with his normal line, Nelson and Beauvillier. So it almost makes me think that was just like not a correct report, and that they just got two guys mixed up or something. But
yeah, Don't usually see that from them. So
what's that?
You don't usually see that from them, right?
I mean, maybe it was, maybe they just went for a couple shifts and that was it. But no Rantanen. Obviously, it downgrades Colorado 1 a little bit. Landeskog pops back up there. Maybe he can finally get going. Full power play correlation for McKinnon, Landeskog, and Burakovsky. We like picking on the Islanders. I think they're going to see a lot of the Barzal, Lee, and Eberle line, and that's a good matchup for both sides. So I'm really liking it. What's that?
Game stack.
Yeah, I mean, you can game stack. I usually don't force in game stacks, but like, I really, really like this Islanders top line. First of all, they've got better numbers than McKinnon and Burakovsky together. They're also fully correlated on the power play. I guess the thing you're worried about is just the lower implied total. But this is a line that has been really coming on strong lately. They had a million chances in their last game, and they couldn't put them home. They're not the greatest at finishing. But if they do, fall on the right side of variance here, this is a steal for this line. Just 15-1 on DK. I think they're really mispriced here, and they're going to see a lot of time against McKinnon. but I think that's a good thing for them. And if they go up against the second line some, that's even better. Comfort, Nishushkin, and Donskoy, that's not going to be a strong line defensively either. So give me some Isles 1. And I like Colorado 1 as well, but they're just really popular, so I don't think I'm saying anything that's not pretty obvious.
Yeah, I kind of think I was kind of hoping like the Islanders 1 and maybe 2 would catch people off guard. We've seen some pretty huge Islanders 2 games.
Yeah.
I think they've won a few people some money, but actually like kind of decent options tonight because their ownership's about the same as their odds of being a top stack, but they are a value play, I think, like both Islanders 1 and Islanders 2. So Islanders 1 looks like it's 7% top stack, so it's probably going a little bit over own. Maybe a little Isles 2, Jake. What do you think?
I mean, that's fine. That's the Slim Cliffy line, right? He
Love
was
it.
on them the other night. They got split up, but yeah, I mean, I'm fine with them, but that's nowhere near priority play for me.
Well, then you're not winning any of the money tonight.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. I think I like them better than the Colorado 2 line if I could choose between one of the secondary lines here. I think I'm with you on Isles 2 over Colorado 2. I'm just like, why is the total so low here for both teams, really?
It's a little bit weird, right? Like I don't know if it's the goaltending factor or what, because like the Islanders are terrible defensively or have been all year. So it's a little bit perplexing. I'm not sure. Maybe we should just be going and betting the over.
It started at a 6 total, which is where I
Like
thought it would get
Islanders
to again,
2.5. That
seems low.
Seems crazy to me.
Especially with no Rantanen. I know he's not like the strongest defensive player, but this depth for Colorado is pretty weak.
It's not like Colorado 2-3-4 are gonna win any awards for top line awards.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's gonna be some goals here. Isles are ice cold. That's fair, I suppose. But if they get going, I think their top line is a pretty good place to start. What about defensemen in this game? Cale Makar, $5,800. Kind of one of the better options we have. He's overpriced, but if you're going with Colorado 1, you can fit him. Like, it's way easier than the Crew plus Boston 1 situation. So there is that. On the we've got $5,600 Ryan Graves. Got to mention him. We've got Taves, Pulak, Letty, your boy, Mayfield back. That's probably an upgrade for the Islanders' defense. Any of these guys catching your eye?
No, not really. I guess. Yeah, just not doing a lot. These Isles D, I don't know, man.
Well, we both think the Isles D is pretty overrated. Like, they've relied on good goaltending, and when they don't have it, they're. I mean, you can have huge performances against them.
I feel like Kulak's probably not a bad option for a guy to slot in if you've got the extra cash instead of like a Darnell Nurse who's going to get 1/10 the ownership or whatever. Like, that might not be a bad way to go tonight when you have two chalkier stacks. And you know that the very obvious defensemen that are going to slot into these spots, like it's going to be a lot of Nurse, Klingberg, Gustafsson. So if you can go to similar price defensemen with projections that aren't that far off. So, for example, you might want to go to like Hampus Lindholm instead of Nurse in a chalkier build, or I don't know, like you said, if you got the money for Pulak, he's going to be very low owned. Quinn Hughes, like not getting much ownership in stack, maybe not as a one-off, but in stacks. Like, they're just like good defense pivots tonight. I think might be a smart way to go about building your lineups.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So Pulak, a guy who's not going to project as strong as some of those other guys you mentioned, but if he's going to be at a fifth of the ownership or even like a third of the ownership, he's not a third as likely to get to outscore the other guy.
Ekman Larson, we have for less than 1% ownership.
Ekman Larson's terrible.
Come on now.
He should be 0.
Let's not say things we're going to regret in the future.
Actually, I don't even think I got to any Ekman Larson, but
he's not listed as on the power play 1, but he's kind of splitting time, so I think that's probably why people are off him. But.
You can have all the Ekman Larson.
I will. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'd rather play. I think Nick Leddy for cheaper.
I'm gonna go 100% just to spite you.
All right, your money. I don't like, but I'm punting with Zadorov a little bit as well in this game. But
Nice. Yeah, I
man,
like
his
that.
minutes
He's
are
always a
low.
good little punt option. Only 12 minutes last game though, so
Yeah, jeez.
tread lightly if you're punting with him.
Yeah, maybe I should rethink that. Mayfield maybe on the other side. Letty, like I mentioned, I actually don't think Letty's terrible when he's 3K.
I saw
Um,
someone mention Gooley in chat there as well. I think that's not a bad option.
oh yeah, we'll get to him next. I'm actually not hammering Goulet tonight, but yeah, take your pick of these guys. There's some cheap defensemen. Who knows who's going to score the points, get the 2 assist game? I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. Panthers and Ducks. 3.2 implied total for the Panthers, 2.9 for the Ducks. Bobrovsky expected to go for the Panthers. Gibson is confirmed. Do we see anything new?
Yeah, for the Florida side of things, they traded Dennis Morgan, and so he's out of the lineup. Big loss there. They're playing their 2 defensemen up on the second and fourth line. So Pissick is up with Churchick and Hoffman. Matheson is on the fourth line there. If you're new, that almost never happens, and I don't think either one of them is actually. Oh, Matheson is listed. Matheson.
Matheson's
is,
probably going to be out because he's sick.
Matheson's out. So he's already traveled back to Florida. So that's probably just wrong on Daily Faceoff. So my suggestion there would be: I don't know if we have lines. Probably not, but maybe check these lines. This might be an opportunity to get some new lines that we're not expecting.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a possibility with that. Quenneville likes to change things up, as he did last game. So rude awakening for some people that played their first slate on Monday. Double center with Achari, but he's listed as a winger right now, playing with Barkov and Huberdeau. They pretty much stuck with those lines against the Sharks. And I mean, woohoo, you got to win against the Sharks with those lines. But they are coming off a win. They haven't skated in full since. So I'm expecting those lines to stick, at least to start with. Pissick will probably get moved down at some point. Like, you're really going to have Mark Pissick play with Hoffman and Trocheck? Seems.
I don't know, man. It's pretty ugly. I don't really get what they're doing, but man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, the one thing that I saw in this game that was a little concerning was that Florida 3 was a little bit like they look a little bit too popular. I know it's Vetrano and Dadonov on that line, but they're not even that cheap as a third line. And I'd rather go with our new favorite third line, this Anaheim third one. Really, it's their second line. Henrique, Ritchie, and Troy Terry. Good numbers. Secondary power play time, and probably going to be pretty low owned once again. So they scored last game. They were impressive. That's probably my favorite line on the Duck side. And then
what is it? The Enrique line or the Steele line?
Enrique. Is it Enrique or Henrique? I don't even know. Where's he from? Who knows
probably,
on these guys?
Probably Quebec.
Yeah.
It's got to be Quebec.
I don't know. I mean, 4-1 is, I think, a quality play. Maybe Florida power play stack. Ducks give up a ton of shots, shot attempts, scoring chances, all that. So I like the Panthers, but they are close to where we have like Edmonton 1 and Isles 1. So I don't think I'm going super heavy on Florida 1 is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, though, that like saving some bullets to see if we get some unique lines might not be a bad option here, or shifting off some of your like Van to over to Florida if there are unique lines is a viable strategy if you're going to be up at 10 p.m. Eastern time.
I'll be up still. We'll see how the lineups are doing, and that'll decide whether or not I go to bed or stay up until midnight my time to try to sweat this thing out. Goulet, whatever you want to call him. 3200.
Apparently half the chat is in here to talk about him. So
yeah, I've mentioned him a couple times over the last year or so. I don't know. He's not.
Oh yeah, he was like a Bearman All-Star. He was like a young Lawrence Palute last year.
Yeah, he's gonna play probably 17, 18 minutes at most. So he's not listed on the power play. Like, he's not a great play, despite how much people are talking about him. Yeah, you like Lindholm a little bit. It sounds like 4,600.
Yeah, he just projects out well, and he's getting a ton of minutes. So I think he's probably a safe play. Probably not a bad cash play as well, though. Like, you're probably wanting Nurse and Gustafson, but like 20 to 29 minutes, it looks like, over the past 10. 3 shots on goal per game over the last 10. So he's not like getting a lot of points or anything, and seems to be kind of an assist first guy, but I think that price point he's a pretty good value.
Yeah, you're looking for like maybe one of the bonuses, probably maybe the block shot
Yeah,
bonus and a
bonus and
couple
an
shots
assist.
and an assist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not a high upside guy, but if a couple of those the nurses, the Kale McCarr guys, if they bust and you've got Lindholm in, he is a pretty decent floor player, and just gonna play a million minutes. So
Yeah.
maybe not the worst call there. Kind of agree with you. And then Ekblad, Yandel, Uyghur. I mean, yeah, I don't know any of those guys that you like.
What's Ekblad at price point?
5,100.
Yeah, I play Ekblad when he's 1,000 cheaper.
Yeah, it's not great. Defenseman is just brutal tonight. Do you like
Yeah,
Ducks?
that's why it's all correlating on these like three guys.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to get a wide range of defensemen. Like I'll have all the popular guys, right? But
Yeah.
I think I probably should be mixing in more of like the Lindholm types, just the guys that are gonna play a ton and hope to capture the 10% of the guy that gets 2 assists at no ownership.
Who was our Nurse's number one projected defenseman tonight? Who's number two?
Is it? Let me see here. Oh God, is it Gustafson?
Hampus Lindholm.
Wow. All right. Well, there you go. Man, I'm just not playing that many Ducks. So
That's usually a winning proposition, Jake. So you're all right.
Getzlaf, Raquel, and Jones, they have not impressed me. Like,
No.
I can't really say I want to play a ton of them. Anything else?
I agree. No, I don't have much love for this game, so I'm kind of right there with you.
All right, let's go to your team then. Last game of the night. Before you guys head out, if you could drop us a like, that would be very much appreciated. Helps us keep the lights on here, as Chris Baggs always says. Does really help us out a ton. Shout out to Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports for sponsoring us. As always, go play over on Yahoo. Use promo code Awesemo to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. That is essentially cash over on Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. And then lastly, our top stack tool for NHL today is free. The one we've been referencing a bunch of times shows you which lines Awesemo deems to be over and under owned. It's a really cool tool for MLB, and now we've got it for NHL, and everyone uses it for NFL as well. So go check that out at no charge today. 2.8 implied total for the Wild, 3.1 for the Canucks. Dubnyk and Markstrom are your goalies, and I don't know. Do we have anything new here? Looks like one name.
Yeah, bunch of weird stuff going on with the Canucks. Louis Eriksson, regular fourth liner up on the top line with Horvat and Pearson, though they have been doing that a lot lately. Toffoli with Peter Pedersen and JT Miller on the second line makes his Canucks debut. Bertanen moves down with Gaudette and Roussel. Sutter on the fourth line now with Beagle and Mott. And then I think everything's the same for Minnesota.
Yeah. Man, this is not... So I like Vancouver too, but that's where the ownership's going in this game, right? Toffoli, the new toy. He's cheap. I mean, full power play correlation. Like, this looks like the spot. But I kind of like the Horvat, Pearson, Eriksson trio as well. They're probably going to go pretty low owned, at least as a full stack, and they're going to match up against Stahl, Parise, and Fiala. That line's good offensively. I don't think they're going to be very strong defensively. Stahl recently has not been a great defensive center, neither has Parise on the wing, and then Fiala is more of a playmaker, but he does take chances. They're just not going to be a great defensive line, and Horvat's going to go up against them. So you're looking for a pretty low owned stack that is going to be in a pretty favorable spot, get some top power play time with Horvat. I like Vancouver one. I just prefer the Vancouver side of this one. Not much.
I'm kind of like leaning towards the Minnesota side. It's interesting.
What do you like on Minnesota?
Or just that top line has really good numbers so far. I think they're well, let me pull them up here. They have 3.48 goals for per 60 in 63 minutes. And the Canucks have really been bailed out by Markstrom lately. They since January 1st, they're allowing the fourth most scoring chances against and the second most expected goals against per 60. So maybe just like a little bit of an under the radar play here today for Minnesota. Sure. One. And they're like fairly cheap and not going over owned, I guess would be my argument for them.
That's fair enough. I'm just worried about the matchups here. And like one of the lines I would probably be interested in playing would be the Minnesota third line, but they get 0 power play time, and that's part of the reason why you want to target against the Canucks. So that's the concern here. I don't know what to think of the Conan, Galchenyuk, Zuccarello line. I don't think they're going to be strong defensively either, and they're probably going to get the matchup against the Pettersson line, which I don't know about you, but I don't think it's that big of a downgrade. Besser to Toffoli, like this seems like a
certainly not
fit.
this year.
Yeah, right. I mean, Besser was struggling this season, and yeah, man, Pettersson and Miller have been so good at 5-on-5 together. No matter who they've been with, Besser, Virtanen. I can't remember who else they've had up there, but yeah, I prefer Vancouver top 6 side of this one.
Fair.
What about defensemen here? I mean, we've got another overpriced. Quentin Hughes is 5,300.
Yeah,
Edler,
just in your
57.
Van 2 stacks, I think he's fine.
Yeah.
27 minutes last game.
Hughes did? Man, that seems high. Did he do anything? That's always the question with it.
Decent. Yeah, he's going to be an assist first guy, but I guess he's got 8 goals on the year. I don't know. I'm not a Hughes hater like a lot of people.
So me, yeah.
Yeah, you and Cliffy's not a Hughes guy, right?
The problem is just like playing him. I think there are spots where you play him, and this might be one of them. Just a bad defensive slate, and maybe you just correlate and try to capture a couple assists for a team that scores 5 goals. Vancouver could do that, and so that's probably the best guy. But I fear that I would just be playing a ton of him, just because there's a lack of options at pretty decent ownership. So I don't know. I'm kind of cold on Hughes outside of just correlating stacks. And
that's the thing, right? Like I think it's a great correlation play, and for Van 2, and that's about it. The only shares I'll have. What about these Minnesota guys? Dumba 4,800.
Yeah, I like Dumba 4,800.
Hasn't done anything in 3 straight games.
He's yeah, I mean he's one of the few guys on the slate that has upside without like as a one-off. I think Pulak's kind of like that, although he's been pretty poor as well. Dumba, Pulak, like guys that can actually score goals. I feel like one of these defensemen tonight that no one's on, or that few people are on, is going to have a huge performance, and you're going to need him. And I think Dumba is kind of as likely as anyone. The minutes have been okay. He's attempting more shots recently. Like I know he's been cold the last few games, but who knows? That's kind of the guy I like, and certainly over Suter and Spurgeon. Like 5K and 5,400 for those two guys seems like a bit much. Anything else left here, or anything on the slate?
No, I think we covered it. It was a pretty comprehensive breakdown.
Yeah. So if you guys want to check out the power plays, those are up on the site, Awesemo.com. You can see what Bots has to say about tonight's slate. We have projections, ownership projections, rankings, whatever you need for NHL DFS. We've got a premium Slack chat. That's where you're going to get the bulk of the late news, live blog. We've got it all. So go try out our Top Stacks tool for free today. That will only be free for today. That will go back behind the paywall tomorrow for the bigger slate. And thanks for tuning in to us.
Well, we got 1% Hatties.
Oh, yeah. 1% Hatties. Who you got?
5% Hatties. You go first.
All right, let me scroll through our ownership projections a little bit.
Who did I have last night? Line? That didn't work out very well.
Yeah, I can't remember who I had. But I guarantee you I didn't have Pajot, so I don't even think he got a hat trick anyways.
All right, I got one.
Who you got?
You go first.
No, you go. I'm scrolling through.
I will take at 4.8% ownership. Oh.
Bo?
Horvat.
Oh, and you didn't like Vancouver 1. All right. I like it. That's a good call. Even though Bo's not a big goal scorer. That could be one that could nuke the slate. I will go with... Oh, God. Hopefully Drake Kajula, but yeah, no. He's never going to do that. No. Not Kajula. Why don't you give me Kyler Yamamoto? There we go.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
So that's what we got. Go Yamamoto. Give me the Hattie. Bo Horvat Hattie. I would like either of those two. Good luck tonight in all these massive contests.
Wait, somebody wants goalies too. Should we give a couple goalies?
Sure. What do you got?
I like Gibson as a one-off. I think Dubnik's pretty decent price as well. No ownership. I don't know. I don't hate that call. Bishop is our top projected guy?
Aiden Hill, I like a little bit. Kind of like both goalies in the Boston Edmonton game. If you're going on either side of that, like if you're going Boston 2 plus Rask, that might be a decent way to go. And then Varlamov, I don't think people will stack
Varlamov
against...
revenge game. Oh, I like it.
Well,
it's also
there you go.
Sergei Varlamov bobblehead night as well. So get him in your
Who?
lineup. I'm just kidding.
It's Varlamov? Oh, okay. I was gonna say on the road, that'd be something. All right, guys. Thank you for joining. We will be back tomorrow. I think we got a pretty good slate. Hopefully some nice contests as well. Catch you then. Good luck.